really world class. Even I got hooked.
Championships and trophies, nangangalawak yan.
Ang kalaban ko lagi is myself. Yung isang decision na yun, pag mali yun, malaking effect na yun eh.
This should be taken by some kind of network. It should be a show.
Never ako nagkaroon ng hater, ng bully, as in like, nagsabi na hindi ka makakarating, na may na-achieve anything in life.
This show brought out the best in what you do.
Walang nag-guide sa akin that time. Siguro wala ako sa volleyball.
Kailangan mo dyan tapang, for me Hindi ka pwedeng mahihayin.
At least masabi ko nag-guess ako dito.
What's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of For the Love of the Game. Ako po si Ken Pangalinan. Kasama ko si Dino Lee. Wala ngayon si The One Arm Bamba, Miss Kat Tan. May nahabol na deadline. So unfortunately, she'll not be with us for today. So Dino, ikaw, kamusta ka naman?
Lakas ng ulan, grabe.
Lakas
ng ulan, grabe. Parang nangihina yung kuryente namin dito eh. But so far, everything's good naman. Everyone's safe naman during this pandemic. So,
yeah, so hopefully kayo rin, safe din kayo sa inyong mga bahay. Especially may pandemic, especially napakalakas ka ng ulan ngayon sa Metro Manila. Hindi ko alam sa ibang parte ng Pilipinas or sa mundo. But ayun, thank you so much guys for choosing to spend your Sunday afternoon with us here on Facebook, on YouTube, and our streaming partner Kumu. So maraming salamat guys.
and of course, if you guys, if this is your first time to tune in dito sa For the Love of the Game, this is also a perfect opportunity to check out our social media accounts, and you can follow us on our Kumu, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at For the Love of the Game PH, and on Twitter at FTLTGPH. And our audio format is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. So yan. And support us by liking and sharing this episode because we need your help in spreading the love for the game. So especially, ganda ng episode natin for tonight. I'm excited for this because we have a guest that has been recognized for what he does in the sa profession niya as a sportscaster, di ba? As a journalist. So, yun. So, guys, check us out on our social media accounts and please do like and share this episode. Maraming salamat.
So, binanggit mo na rin lang, Dino, meron tayong special guest. Wag na nating patagalin pa. Let's introduce our special guest for today. So, he is a former basketball coach and was awarded the Best Sports Anchor in the 8th Gawad Tanglaw Awards back in 2009. A former PBA and UAAP sportscaster. So kung nanonood kayo ng UAAP, kilala nyo yan. Yung boses na yan. Lalo-lalo na pag UAAP finals. A proud mental health and wellness advocate and is the current ABS-CBN News North America Bureau Chief. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest for today. None other than the one and only Mr. TJ Manotoc.
Woohoo! Hey! Good afternoon, Ken. Good afternoon, Dino. And hello kay Kat.
Ayun.
Actually, at busy sa trabaho. But guys, thank you so much for having me for the Love of the Game. Just seeing some of the clips and the highlights of your previous episodes and the big names that you've guessed before. It's an honor to be with you. Maraming salamat for you to reach out to me all the way here. Thanks to the power of the internet, magkakasama tayo ngayon. So glad to be here.
Yeah. Thank you, TJ. It's an honor and a privilege, of course, from my end and of course from Ken's end. Kasi syempre, he's always been looking up to you because of his mental health journey as well, di ba? So, ayan. So, ayan, nag-sorry na nga si Kat. Sorry, guys. Supporting you on the side.
May hirit ko lang. Ako, busy ka.
Oo, yan. Tapos yan, what's up, FTLTG fam? So, si Kaiser yung gumawa ng trailer ni TJ Manotoc.
Kaiser, galing.
Yan.
Salamat.
Yan. From Davao yan, from Davao. And of course, yan, sup bros, Dino and Ken, have a blessed Sunday, FTLTG fam. So, siya naman yung gumawa ng career highlights poster ni TJ Manotoc.
Grabe yun, nakakilabot naman yung tail of the tape nung binasa ko. Parang sabi ko, ang tanda na siguro ng taong to. Dami mo lang sa buhay.
Grabe.
You realize when you look at it from a different perspective. dami mo na palang nadaan, ang dami mo na experience, ang dami mo nagawa. Pero I'm just thankful. Ang dami kong natutunan with everything I've been through. So it's all played a part in where I am and who I am today. So thank you. Thanks, guys.
Nice.
Ayan, so before I forget, we're actually live dahil si TJ nasa Bay Area. So it's Saturday evening, no? Tama ba? Saturday evening here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Kasi
mm,
may nagtanong kasi dito Ken parang
ah,
it's early daw. Oh, so early. Sabi niya.
Usually kayo mas late, diba?
Oh yeah.
Regular time slot ninyo.
Yeah, we typically do it Wednesdays 8 p.m.
Oh.
But dahil doon sa time difference, nag-switch tayo because we're 15 hours ahead. So it's apparently around past 10 o'clock there in the...
Which is fine. It's a Saturday night.
Yun.
Anyway.
Perfect.
sumakto. So, yun, TJ, kamusta ka naman? I'm sure our viewers would like to know what you've been up to this past few days.
Well, I've been good. Enjoying the weekend so far. It's my Saturday here. It's my time for downtime, relax with the family. My cheat day for my nutrition plan. Because I'm very on my Monday to Fridays. And then I've been enjoying the playoffs. I'm sure you guys have too.
Yeah.
We just finished watching. Salamat sa ako, nagpadala ng kape. Thank you. Enjoying the playoffs like you guys have. Pati yung Euro football, pinapanood ko rin. And LPGA, because we've got some Filipinas playing in
Yes.
the KMPG PGA Women's Championship Tournament, wherein Dottie Ardina is tied for 6th place after 3 days. So she's sort of in contention for tomorrow, but she's down by 9 strokes from the leader. Grabe yung leader na 15 under. But anyway, she might have a top 10 finish, which is great for her. So it's been a fun ride to see, sports alive and kicking amidst this pandemic. At least here in the US, I'm glad to see Gilas do well also.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the sports fan in me is so happy to see some things coming back to normal. Like most of us, I mean, primarily you are a sports podcast, so I'm sure the sports fans are so excited as well. We just be back to normal, and soon enough, the Philippines as well will be, UAAP games, PBA games, NCAA games. We'll get there soon.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
you mentioned nga about that. Meron
Na-miss mo na
natin
daw.
sa back- na-miss daw, na-miss.
Na-miss, but I think when you had an interview with Off the Bench, you mentioned that you really missed sportscasting, diba? Kasi you haven't done it for so long.
O yan, nagka-comment lang.
2018, I mean, it's weird because when I left in July, start na ako nun, pero umuwi ako ng saglit in October, November, to fix some papers.
Yeah.
And the team in ABS-CBN Sports were so kind to me, and they said, sige, salang ka ulit. Kahit ilang laro lang. I did a couple of games. If I'm not mistaken, I did the Adamson UP game, and I think I did game 1
Right.
of 5-2. That was when UP had their incredible run. So that was wow. It was a joy to witness again. And kahit yung last hurrah yun. But who knows? I mean, who knows in the future if things? Who knows? I'm never closing my doors to sportscasting. If the doors open again, I'm all for it.
I'm curious, TJ, kasi parang you don't mention that much. Parang nag-research ako. Nagtataka ako, bakit nga ba pumunta sa state si TJ Manotoc? That's something I'm curious eh. Kasi I think you mentioned you went to the States 2018 eh. Pero naghanap ako sa Instagram mo, wala ka namang kwento about why you left for the States. Tapos naghanap ako sa Google, but I wasn't able to find out eh.
Really?
Parang,
I didn't share it myself, but eventually it took a while before ABS-CBN made the press release, and it took a while before I started to do some live reports. I mean, if you watch ANC ng madalas, you probably noticed that by then I was doing reports from the US, and they were starting to call me the North American News Bureau Chief because that was the job that was offered to me here. So that's why I left. I mean, I was early 2018, shortly after I started my mental wellness advocacy with my video and all that. I asked if I could do something different because I was starting to feel the burnout of the amount of work I was doing. For those who may have been aware at the time, I was doing an early morning show on ANC. And then I was still doing reports for the news programs for TV Patrol, ANC, Bandila. And then in the evening, I would do the score. So I was, for the last, at the time, you ran for about 2 years or a year and a half, I was averaging about 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And I started to feel
My God.
Yeah, I mean, sumisiesta naman ako ng umaga kahit pa paano konti, pero still, di ba? Hindi pa rin tama yun. And I was telling myself, teka lang, nag-burnout na ako isa. Pangalawa, here I am speaking out as a mental health advocate and I'm like, this is not right. And medyo hipokrito
Tama.
naman ako na
Tama.
yung katawan ko and ganito. So I told my bosses na, I think something's gotta give, something's gotta change, whether it's the morning show or the evening show, you decide, you tell me what we can talk and discuss. And then at that time they said, well, so like there is an opening in San Francisco. Literally, one of my bosses said it, and then I'm like, oh, that one. Okay, kasi actually napag-usapan na to before, 2016, 2017, we started with the idea, but it never, obviously, didn't come to fruition at the time. But the news bureau chief for the North American News Bureau had been vacant for a while, for about a year and a half, 2 years, and they couldn't anybody who was willing to come out yet, or those who are qualified that they offered it to. And I was fortunate that they said, okay, you want to try it out? I'm like, okay. And I had some family here already at the time. My family was game to try something different. And off I went. Yun. That's the long answer to your question. Sorry, Dino. By the way, Ken was with us in the Off the Bench podcast. So
Yeah. I actually watched it.
Yeah, he knows how long I can answer. You throw me a short question, minsan ang haba ng
Yeah.
Pag-usapan natin yan.
Comprehensive. That really goes to show na yung pagiging journalist, 'di ba? Yung pagiging analyst pala, pagiging analyst ni TJ sa pagko-call ng games. I know you've been an anchor, but sabi mo iba pa rin yung pagiging analyst during your yung interview niyo with Off the Bench. Ito nga, since you mentioned the score, sabi ni Ramon Angelo Asistio. The score, grabe, nakakamiss ng husto.
Hey, salamat. Na-miss ko rin, syempre. Actually, one of the photos you used was from the score.
Yeah, yung sa career highlights.
Yeah.
And yun nga, sabi nga ni Monchi, I'll always remember 2013 with TJ Manotoc. He covered
defender. Si Monchi.
He covered both Spurs and UST finals game, which both lost. Yung teams niya, kasi Spurs siya at saka UST.
Ganun eh. Joke.
Met him personally daw. And ayan, and glad to connect with him after 8 years. Stay safe always, sir.
2006 naman, nanalo naman Monchi. So, unang anuhin yan.
Yeah.
Now, TJ, speaking of, kasi you, sorry.
Bago lang natin iwanan si Monchi, I think I'll go down in history, whether famously or infamously, with the guy who lost his mind with Kevin Ferrer's 3-point shots.
Yeah.
It's there, right? You've got to be kidding me. Yun na yun eh. Nanganak dun eh.
Ayun, so TJ, you've mentioned kasi yung mga Pinay golfers. So exactly 3 weeks ago, I'm sure you remember this. So you were part of history. So yun nga, si Yuka Zaso, historic feat in the US Open. So nakakatuwa kasi you've post lahat yata ng holes ni story mo sa Instagram, tama ba? And yun nga, the last shot that she made, kumbaga it was a human moment for you. Kumbaga, narinig namin sigaw mo di ba? So, can you just describe the whole experience for you?
Wow. Well, okay. So anyway, this is a great story to tell. Thanks for bringing this up, Ken. So after the first day, we were like hearing the buzz. Uy, may Pinay na naglalaro sa US Open and she actually did kind of well. Na okay yung score. I think she was top 15 or top 10 or something. And so we looked at it. And nga pala, it's Yuka Saso. And then I remember weeks before that, I already applied for media credentials. Okay. For that. And the other tournament that happens in San Francisco, which was 2 weeks after that, the LPGA Medihill, it's just in Daly City next door, diba? But the thing is, dahil sa pandemic, they only approved most of us for virtual media credentials. Ibig sabihin, hanggang
virtual
yung mga kapasok. Yes, wala kang on-course credentials. So I'm like, and they're like, kasi limited yung credentials for on-course because of the pandemic. I'm like, okay, fine. And then after the second day, nagpaparamdam na ako dun sa media officers na parang nag-thank you ako na I was part of the Zoom press con, I got to record her answers. And then I actually said, nung second day, sayang, hindi ako nakapagtanong kasi nagkaroon ka ng miscommunication sa moderator. I thought I was supposed to unmute myself. You probably wanted me to type my question, whatever. And then I said, P.S. It's also so unfortunate I couldn't be there on course. I know you have limited slots for media credentials, but sabi ko, I literally live 5 minutes away from the Olympic Club. Yes, ako nakarinig ng Olympic Club. Natawid lang ako dyan sa bahay ko. I'm not kidding.
Lapit lang pala.
Grabe.
So, I mean, what are the chances, diba, of a journalist who is covering one of the leaders that actually just lived outside the golf course? So, fast forward, after the third day where she was in contention, she was one stroke off the leader coming into the fourth day. Siguro naawa or natuwa or whatever you call it, they emailed me and they said, we spoke to our boss and we can give you on-course credential for tomorrow, for the last day. Can you make it? I'm like, in all caps, yung sagot ko, I think, of course I can.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, sabi ko, of course I can cross the street for you guys. It's just there. So anyway, so now it gets interesting. So here I go. I rushed there, and her tee off was I think it was 10:30. I kid you not. I was running late because they said you have to bring your vaccination records and all this and that. And hindi ko mahanap yung papel ko. So nagkatapa kami ng wife ko, nasa ba nakalagay yun? So nadali ako ng alis kahit na napakalapit na lang, and literal buzzer beater yung pagdating ko doon. As in, I got my credential at the gate, and I went straight to the media office, and I just wanted to say thank you to the ladies who helped me out to get my credential. I said thank you, I just want to say thank you to you personally, and I was hoping to grab some snacks. Sanay naman ako sa mga media rooms, lalo sa States. They feed us well, okay? And looking around, and interesting enough, hiwalay pala yung food room sa media room. So punta ako to media room, she goes, and then I just saw like a couple of candy bars, or grab whatever I could. And then she goes, so I was wearing my media ID na, and then she goes, oh, by the way, I have something else for you. So ano yun? And she goes, here, this is a green lanyard. This is for inside the ropes. Sabi ko, ano kaya to? Guys, I've never covered a golf tournament live. I mean, I've covered golf, interviewed golfers, but I've never covered a golf tournament live. So I didn't realize what kind of superpower I was just gifted with.
Wow.
So pagpunta ko doon, well, by the way, right after that, I went to the food tent next door. And unfortunately, wala pang lunch na nakahanda. Nakakain the whole day. So I was able to grab 1 cup of coffee, and I think as part of my Instagram story, so nabanggit ko, thank you for the Pete's coffee and a donut. That's all I had. 1 cup of coffee and a donut.
Yun.
Off I went. And I caught her in the first hole. And I was like, why pala itong inside the ropes? I'm literally inside the ropes. Guys, for the whole 21 holes, and it started in the first hole, second hole, realizing I'm so near them. I'm like literally a few feet away from these players, and I can be as close as I can be, as long as I follow the etiquettes of golf. I'm not where the fans are. I'm inside the ropes. So look at this. So I'm like, okay, sige, here I am going along, and then I don't know if you remember the technicalities of her score, but on her second and third holes, double bogey.
Yeah, double bogey.
That is in golf. 1 double bogey is horrible. 2 double bogeys is devastating.
Yeah.
And I was like, nagmumura na ako sa loob ko, like, the past 3 days, she was incredible. Here I am.
Bad luck.
May jinx.
Ako ba yung malas? Should I just go home and watch TV? I was so...
Na-jinx.
Oh, no.
Baka kinabahan si Yuka kasi nandun ka, TJ.
I don't know. I don't know if she saw me, but anyway. So buti na naka-recover siya. She got a par for the next, I think, 3-4 holes. So it's not me. And then eventually, medyo tumabo ng mga birdie niya in the back nine. Di ba? Doon na siya nag-run, di ba? And I remember, I think with 6 or 7 holes to go, she was still down by about 6 strokes or 5 strokes. Sabi ko, wala na to. Actually, magka-text kami ni Noli Ayala. He was up early. Super golf fanatic naman yung kaibigan natin. And nag-uusap ko kami, pare. Battle for second na lang to. Okay din naman yung second, di ba? Laking prize money dito. Aking katiwalaan yun. And at that time, 60% sa leaderboard that were fighting for second to 7th place. Even just to get second was going to be so difficult. And by the time we were getting to the 17th, I didn't even realize, it didn't dawn on me how bad it was already for Lexi Thompson, who was the leader, how much she was crashing. Because for you to catch 5 strokes in the last 6 holes, it takes 2 things to happen. You to do super well and the leader to explode, which is what happened for her.
Right.
And I remember leaving the 17th hole, may iba mga photographer na katabi, and we were like, is this happening? Parang, are they tied? Sabi ko, tabla na ba sila entering the final hole? Like, I can't believe it that they're tied. And if you saw my Instagram story now, which by the way, I saved it for those who might want to relive this or never saw it, the few Instagram stories I know how to save. Naka-save dun sa, if you go to my profile page, it's down there. I think Yuka Win, whatever I call it. It's there. So I was walking up the 18th hole and I said, this is there. We're walking into it. And I was hyperventilating. I was like, ano ba to? Pagod ba to? Kaba? Or what? I guess it was both. And then, you know, and I was like, such a rush. I haven't come to the sport event live in a long time. And I was like, what a rush this is. So anyway, lo and behold, you know, 18th hole, it was going on. And then Lexi Thompson had a 2 or 3 putt. She bogeyed. She did not even tie for the lead. She was the leader of the last 9. And here comes Yuka. She had to sink the par, which wasn't easy for like 10 feet, just to tie the other Japanese girl. She master rin na again. Hakaota, I think her name was. And I was like, oh my God, nakaban ako. And I was looking at the fringe. I was like, it's so funny actually. If you see that, I'll share you a photo later. When you see some of the highlights, if you look closely, ako lang yung nasa inside the ropes na walang professional camera. Sa totoo lang, mukha akong tanga. Na cellphone lang ang hawak ko.
Puro IG story ka.
Is it a professional camera or video camera? And I was like, IG story.
Ang dami nga nung IG story, nakita ko.
Anyway, so she made that putt. Like, wow, oh my God, we're tied. Diba? We're tied. We're going to extra holes. You know, a 2-hole aggregate. They will total 2 holes. And then sudden death kung tabla pa. So medyo may confusion ng konti before, you know, ano ba yung format? Kasi usually, ibang tournament, sudden death ka agad yun eh. Pero ito, 2-hole aggregate tapos sudden death. Ito nakakatawa. I kid you not. Napagod na ako. Coming into the first playoff hole, and I gotta show you this. 1 second. I'll grab this.
Basta maganda ano nun kasi I remember yung 18th hole, yung fairway nun, ano eh.
Ito yung bit-bit kong backpack. This is about 20-30 pounds.
Bigat yan.
Ang daming laman. Wow. May camera, may tripod, may light. Kasi hindi ko naiwan sa media center kasi nga late ako, di ba? So nung late ako, ako maarap na cubicle. So bit-bit ko yun the whole time. So first of all, I don't remember the last time I actually played golf. I don't remember the last time I walked 18 holes, more so with a 30-pound backpack on me. Cramps na ako nung 19th hole, nung first day of
Grabe.
Hindi yung cramps na swela, so yung toe cramps, yung masakit na gumaganon. Will I survive? These playoffs, I was dying. Oh my God!
Grabe.
One part nakanakaw ako ng saging. Dun sa I was confident to do so kasi alam ko they were the last flight. Eh. Wala nang susunod na players.
So nakikain ka na.
Nakikain ako ng saging isa. Isang ginto. So anyway, thankfully I survived that. And the next 3 holes, the playoff holes. Yun nga, the last putt of Yuka, we're in, sabi ko, tapos ito, last ito, panalo na. Then nagsisigawan yung Pinoy behind me. So nagawa ako, Yuka!
No.
It's so wild. But beyond that, there was a personal story to that because she's close to my dad. I mean, you guys remember, my dad is one of the
golfer.
One of the best known golfers in the Philippines because of his career in amateurs, his career in the Philippine team back in the 70s. And he was also, for a while, the president of the Philippine Amateur Golfing Association. But I think hindi niya nabutan si Yuka under the Philippine team, pero he knew of her. He saw her growing up as young as 8 years old. Okay? Right. So, kinalang niya. And she was telling us, me and my brothers already before, na abangan nitong Yuka Sasu. She's gonna be great one day. I'm like, okay, we believe you. And true enough, it happened. And so when I got to interview her in the press conference afterwards, this is a cool part because ang dami natuwa na napatagalog ko siya. And they saw the highlight of her press con, in the press room.
Right.
US Open, Women's Open Championship na yung backdrop, yung tarpaulin, biglang here's this athlete na nagtatagalog in front of the international media. So cool. We've seen Eric Spoelstra and J. Jordan Clarkson say mabuhay and salamat. Whatever. Ito yung nagtatagalog. Because I wanted to speak to her in Tagalog. And I know she's comfortable in Tagalog. So, which I did. And that's when I think I was lucky to get one of the most interesting answers out of her because I asked her what it was like after the first 2 double bogeys. Di ba? Puro na lang tanongin ko sa kanya na, did you think I was your malas? sabi niya, her caddy spoke to her. Sabi ng caddy niya, a lot of holes to go. Just relax, trust in the game, and you'll recover. So true enough, she took those words of advice to heart. She relaxed, trusted her game, and the rest is history. So that's that. See, look what you did, Ken. One question, it was a 20-minute answer.
Na-time pa niya talaga,
Matay tayo dyan.
TJ, having covered yun nga, yung recent yung sports in America, di ba, where Yuka Saso won. How do you think the Philippine sports has been coping with the pandemic as compared to the United States and other parts of the world? Do you think we're lagging behind? Parang as someone that's covering, news about sports.
It's tricky. I mean, I try to keep tabs with what's happening back home as much as I can. It's tricky because you can't. It's not just on the sports leaders. It's the government as well, and it's the condition of the pandemic, and which technically involves the whole citizenry, depending on how responsible they are in stopping it. Because we kind of know what needs to be done to slow it down, right? But it is what it is. You can't point fingers and blame people. But I'm glad there was a PBA bubble. I'm thankful na natuloy yun. And kahit paano, we saw that and witnessed that. And that was fun to see. But we're all itching and aching to see sports come back. I'm glad there was a Gilas FIBA bubble in clubs. It was fun to watch too. But it's hard to judge. I mean, I'm just hoping and praying it comes back sooner than later, that they do it smartly and safely. And also, I guess, to understand that this matters. It matters to put live sports back into the lives of Filipinos, because when you see that, it's so uplifting. I mean, case in point, when the first NBA bubble game started here in Florida last year, I'm talking to some of my friends here and my coworkers, did you watch the game live? Grabe yung feeling nyo, parang, did you feel that? Parang it was a live basketball game, kahit na bubble yun.
Yeah.
Oh. And I remember that the first few games were really good games. Talagang digit pa I forgot who were playing at the time, but they were good games. Hindi siya tambakan. It was like, wow, that was fun. It felt so good to be alive. Parang na-value mo tuloy yung value ng sports sa buhay natin. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So if our sports leaders and our nation's leaders understand that maybe they can make us a bit of an effort more, find a way to get it back, because it matters a lot to Filipinos, it matters a lot to our lives, to make us more relaxed, more inspired, more whatever it is. I mean, it's just so important to us, sports fans, and even the casual Pinoy fans. We just love sports. So sana mapabilis ang pagbalik ng sports atin kahit na meron pa rin pandemic.
Yeah. Kasi naiinggit nga ako, TJ, kasi sa high school pa lang dyan naglalaro, di ba, si Bronny James, I'm seeing his highlight games. Punong-puno yung crowd, high school games, di ba? So parang as a sports fan, parang naiinggit ako na ba't sa kanila normal na dito, di ba? So we're hoping it comes back sooner rather than later. Yep. And being away from the Philippines, I'm just curious, parang maybe this isn't sports related. What do you miss the most being far away from the Philippines?
The malls.
Yeah. I'm just curious now.
Yes, the malls, the shopping malls. Wala masyado mga mall dito eh.
Talaga?
Wala. But yung mga mall dito sa Amerika, parang may mga strip mall yung kalat. Pero wala yung mga parang Shangri-La, Mall, Podium, Greta. I love the outdoors, but I'm also a city boy who grew up at the mall, so I kind of miss that with all the restaurants and options to eat. So, medyo nakakamiss. I do not miss the traffic. I miss my friends, some family back home. I miss playing hoops. I used to play a lot in different leagues. I used to play in the MPG Open, the ABL, the Ateneo Alumni League, and there's a time that me and my brother and some friends, we had a team in the B6BL, the under 6 foot basketball.
Right.
There too. So pretty much all year round, meron akong liga sinasalihan na, competitive league, may referee and all that. So obviously I miss that, all that. So there are a lot of things that you miss from that.
Right. Grabe, no? And we were having a discussion earlier ni Ken when you weren't around pa, where we were talking about, saan ka ba talaga naglaro? You were asking. Kasi prior to having you as our guest, I never knew you actually played ball. Sabi ko, so parang that is something I didn't know about you. So parang, can you clarify where did you actually play? Yung experience mo? Saan ka ba naglaro talaga? And para malinawan lang kami.
Susubukan kong humugot ng picture. I think I have a photo here.
Parang it wasn't highly documented eh.
Hindi, wala din kasing YouTube yung panahon ko eh. But I do have a video of one of my games. I do have a video of one of my games in high school, and I'm thankful that I was lucky that one of my classmates, it's so funny because one of my classmates, his dad ran a audio-video company that they basically did parties and weddings and
okay.
So meron siya mga video equipment, meron siya mga tao. Actually, he had one of his guys record almost all of our games in high school, and I played for Ateneo for high school. Okay, so I played in the Prada. If you're familiar with the Prada League, I did not play UAAP Junior, so I wish I did. It's one of my what ifs of my life, but it was complicated. It had something to do with not qualifying. Sorry, it had something to do with me taking summer classes after third year, and I couldn't join the summer training for the seniors on the team, and I couldn't make the team. So anyway, I was in Prada for my third and fourth year. And then for college, I went to LaSalle. I was softly recruited by Coach Virgil Villavicencio. Not aggressively, but I'd say softly recruited. Parang he didn't even call me. Nagpasabi siya dun sa coach namin, papunta mo sa TJ, pa-try out mo dito. And I didn't even try out in Ateneo College because first and foremost, I didn't get accepted academically. So here, I'll just try to zoom in. This is what I looked like in high school. Yan, ang pogi, oh.
Ayun. Yung nasa kaliwa. Yung pinaka-kaliwa.
Yan, okay, yan.
Number 10.
Ganyan ako kapayat. I could shoot. I was a decent shooter. Not so good on defense at that point, but I was a decent shooter enough that, I got some looks. And, I was recruited to go to LaSalle, but at that time, when I came out and tried out, they were telling me, you can't make any promises that you'll make the lineup right away because the team was really strong. Kasabay ko nun sila Jason Webb, sila Alvin Magpantay, Mark Telan, Tony Boy Espinosa, Dominic Uy, Mos Grau, Alvin Garcia, Luigi Trillo, and
grabe.
That was a team that went, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry to my teammates, 4 years straight as in the finals, na nag-runner up to UST. Okay, to the UST boys. Those are the years of sila Dennis Espino. Simpson, yan. So, yun yung mga katapat nila. So, it was a really, really strong team, and the chances of me get back in the lineup were extremely slim, and I never made the lineup. So, I never made it to the UAP team. I got to play in Team B a couple of years, and dun ko naging kaibigan si Luigi Trillo, and funny enough, our dads were actually teammates in college during their time in college. So, Tito Waki and my dad from LaSalle, and then who would have thought that their kids would be teammates in LaSalle 30 years later. So anyway, but it was Luigi who invited me to try out coaching. My foray into basketball coaching had nothing to do with my dad. In fact, nagulat siya na nagsimula ako mag-coach.
Yeah,
because
correct.
Luigi invited me to coach in Southridge. He was the head coach of Southridge High School. And he said, bro, we need a couple more assistants. You want to help out? I'm like, sure. So, and at that time, I actually lived across the street from Southridge. I was living in Alabang here. Ito na naman tayo sa mga across the street, diba? I live so near South. It's like, sure, it's so near my house. I could join. So, doon ako nagsimula, and I enjoyed it. I started to love it. I was his assistant for a couple of years. And then when I graduated college in LaSalle, nag-apply ako sa LaSalle Green Hills for my first job as a coach of the SBP of LaSalle. Doon nagsimula.
Right. TJ, na-curious ako kasi di ba parang I think dun sa video mo na you released back in 2018, parang you mentioned there at a very young age of 3, your dad, you had to be separated with your dad for certain reasons. While you were growing up, sino yung naging major influence sa'yo for sports? And how did you grew up and how did you fell in love with the sport itself, particularly sa basketball?
I don't know. I just love the sport. So my dad wasn't around between the age 3 until I reconnected with him when I was about 13, 12, 13.
Yeah, right.
Him and he, we would see each other. So technically speaking, my dad had little influence at the start of my love for basketball. I mean, I was just thanks to the PBA, the PBA at the time, and my village in Makati, where I grew up in Barangay Bella, we were able to play intercolor, intervillage, so competitive the games there. And watching the PBA, my favorite team back then was Pure Foods.
Pure Foods.
The player was Jolas, okay? And this is a funny story. When I found out his birthday, lalo ako na-excite. Biruin mo ba naman, ka-birthday ko si Jolas? How many people naka-birthday ng idol mo, di ba?
Di ba? Yeah.
March 10. Like, what? March 10 ka rin? In fact, we joked about it when I eventually met him as a sports reporter, and I interviewed him a couple of times. I'm like, did you know? Idol kita ng bata. Kasi mag-birthday tayo. So anyway. But yeah, so that was it. I mean, I just loved the PBA. I loved watching the PBA at the time, and I loved Pure Foods. And that really got my love for the game going. And playing basketball and just playing by myself, shooting around, in our village, and I eventually had a hoop in front of my house. So that's what started it. And when my dad, we'd spend a lot more time together, doon naman ako natuto mag-analyze. Sa totoo lang, yung sports analysis started with my dad, just watching him.
Right.
Watching him watch games. He's not fanatic. Hindi siya fanay na, oh my God, wow. He's more like very analytical, and we talk about matchup, who would sub who would guard who, and what the coach doing there. So I picked up a lot of that from my dad. It's like I never took notes, but it's just all amazing. It just started to get embedded in my subconscious. Like when I started to do sportscasting and analysis in games, like a lot of these things were coming out, like second nature. Like it's like I'm sitting with my dad, just watching the game and just talking about the game.
Right. Just like any other basketball fan or basketball fanatic, did you ever dream of playing in the pros? And pursuing basketball coaching and sportscasting, was it somewhat related na kahit hindi ka nag-pro, at least involved pa rin ako sa something that I love?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was that something that was going through your mind?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess, every varsity player wants a varsity kasi high school. I'm sure pangarap mo maging PBA player, diba? Kahit paano. But getting into college, I knew that path would be extremely difficult. Right. More difficult because of my dad. Yung nakakatawa dun eh. Parang, if you think it's an advantage, actually it's not, because all the more you're scrutinized, all the more may nakikinig sa, baka naman maka-line up ka lang dahil anak ni Tommy. My dad said,
wala pang social media nun. Thank
God, wala pang social media nun, diba? So, although there was exchange that was starting to boom. But anyway, sabi niya, and my dad would tell me this when I was already in LaSalle in the training team. Sabi niya, anak, mahirap yan. I mean, do your best, try your best, but, just to temper expectations. There are, it's an 18-man team with all those in the reserves, and we're competing with everybody. And everybody there wants a career in basketball. So it just made me realize how difficult it was. And it's not that I gave up, but I just knew how difficult it was. And, I didn't make it, but you're right, I was so grateful that about 2 years after my graduation, or a year and a half after my graduation from college, I ended up being a sportscaster on the sidelines. It's the next best thing.
Yeah.
Arguably, some might say even better because I lasted longer. I mean, a professional career on average, what? They're lucky to survive 8 to 10 years on average, nah? The
More
super
than 20.
last long. But I've been in sportscast. I had the sportscast for about 20, 21 years. So I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to have the seat on the sidelines, to be, and a lot of us sportscasters say this, we're like fans with a paycheck. We're just sitting there yapping away, talking away, entertaining you guys, but we're just fans and we're getting paid to do this. It's ridiculous that it's called a job because I would used to tell my friends, I would pay them to let me sit here and talk about the game. Baliktad dapat eh. But
Grabe, no?
mind-boggling how they were paying us to do that. I'm like, really? Okay.
Grabe. Galing. Amazing.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Parang kahit di ka you weren't able to achieve your first dream of playing pro, you were able to still be involved and be part of the game as a sports caster. Galing. Nakakatuwa lang.
Yeah, speaking of sportscaster, so TJ, we talked about this during Monchi's podcast sa Off the Bench. But I recall you saying na you had your break as a courtside reporter. Tapos parang yung first 3 go round mo parang it wasn't as planned.
It was
Diba? Parang,
horrible. I was horrible as a sport reporter.
but parang can you share like ano yung mga yung experiences mo doon? Parang for me kasi I'm an aspiring sportscaster din. For me to learn lang like what can you recall from that experience? Why do you say it was horrible?
Because I was. But anyway, so when I wanted to get into sportscasting, I was really coaching LaSalle in the first year in LaSalle Juniors, and I was like, okay, the salary there was 4,000 pesos a month gross. So ang net ko pa noon was 3,600. And I'm like, I wanted to be a little bit more independent. I wanted to move out of my dad's house at the time with my sister.
Right.
Hindi kaya. Sabi ko, it won't survive with just this salary. So I needed to find another job that was still part-time because I still wanted to coach. I really enjoyed it. So I was looking around and I saw a couple of friends. Luigi was one, Victor Quat was another, and Luigi's wife, Via Trillo at the time. And I had a cousin, her name's Vanessa Mayuga. They were all into sportscasting. I'm like, hey, kaya nila, kaya ko rin to. So, nag-apply ako through the help of Ria. She was with ABS-CBN Sports at the time, covering the MBA, the Metropolitan.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Remember that. My cousin Vanessa was working as a courtside reporter with the PBL, which was under the production of Vintage, which was also handling the PBA production at the time. The interesting thing was, when I submitted my resumes to both, the PBL production was in a bit of a flux kasi papasok yung merger ng Diva Vintage. Kung naalala niyo for a while, Diva Vintage was the TV production for the PBA because nag-merge yung Viva, the movie of Victor Rosario.
Viva Entertainment.
So, magulo sila. So, hindi napansin yung application ko. So, fine. And then I took the job with ABS-CBN Sports, with the NBA, and they hired me. They trained me for a couple of games. We did some practice games, like 2-3 games. I did, I think, 3 games to be exact, on air live for this season. And as I told Monchil and Ken, then I was absolutely horrible. I could barely look at the camera straight. I would stutter a lot. And I remember my very first game, or probably my second game, during halftime, the producer said, okay, wala ka naman daw report. Sabi ni Direk, wala ka report mamaya during halftime break. So, pasok ka lang sa dugout, medyo makinig ka na lang, mag-notes ka na lang, just, para lang makinig ka. Like, okay, fine. So I went in there, I'm kind of listening, and then all of a sudden, nagpapanik yung floor producer. Ay, halika na, papanik ka, sabi ni Direk, ha? Wala ako hinanda. Bahal, kaya mo yan. And I'm like, I'm a new guy. You treating me like a veteran na kaya ko itong magicin. So anyway,
Right.
to the camera, and I remember it was Bill Velasco was the anchor. I forgot who his analyst was. And I remember I had a rough notes of like 5 different things that the coach said. And sobrang kaba ko, sobrang panic ko, I literally read those 5 things twice. So naging 10. So sabi ko, coach said this, do this, inulit ko na naman. Sabi ni Bill Velasco pagbalik ko sa kanya, well, thank you, TJ, for a very comprehensive list. That's a lot of things.
Grabe.
So anyway, that's just one example of how bad it was. But anyway, here's the weird thing. I got a call after 3 games. I got a call from the late Ronnie Nathaniels, who was leading the production at the time of Viva.
Correct. Yeah.
And he says, first of all, nagmura siya because he loves to curse. Anak, miho, ba't di ka tumawag sa akin? He's one of my dads, and I met him before, and he goes, ba't di mo ako tinawagan? Ba't di ka nag-apply sa akin? Bakit mo inabot yung resume mo sa PBL? And at the time, sabi ko, I don't know, who am I to think I'm worthy of the PBA? Diba? So anyway, long story short, that was the year 2000, that was the year Red Bull was a new team. And when Red Bull was a new team, they
Correct.
had Yang Yao as their coach,
Yeah.
Andy Howe as their assistant team manager. And if you recall, if you're old enough to remember, Andy Howe and Yang Yao were two of the regular analysts
Yeah.
of Vintage prior to that, to Red Bull coming in as an expansion team. So may dalawang bakante, which is extremely rare in the history of PBA broadcast. To this
Yeah.
day, I don't think that's ever happened na ganun biglang may opening.
May opening.
Maghahanap kayo ng bago, di ba? But at that time, thankfully for me and Paolo Trillo, Boss Vic De Rosario wanted young blood. He didn't want to get old guys. He wanted Ronnie to find young blood. As young as can be. So Paolo and I, actually Paolo holds the record. He was younger than me by a few months. We hold the
Right.
record as being the youngest analysts in the PBA.
In the PBA.
21 years old in a few months.
Wow.
Worse, none of us
Grabe.
were former UAP players.
Grabe yun.
Not former PB players, no, not even former UAP players. So imagine mo kung meron ng Twitter ng time.
Fresh grad.
Imagine mo kung may Twitter na ng time yun, sunod kami. I mean,
Yeah.
we weren't great at the start. We were struggling. We were trying to get the ropes of this thing. And I mean, Vic and Ronnie gambled on us as young guys who, okay, admittedly, it's clear we had some basketball pedigree because he was the son of Rocky Trillo. I was the son of Manotoc, and it rung a bell with sports fans. It helped get our foot in the door, but for us to stay long in that career, we had to work our butts off to improve and learn, which we did. I've seen others who also got their foot in the door one way, form, or another in those 4 years when it was a PBA, but they didn't survive because, I don't know, maybe they didn't put in the work enough or whatever happened to them. But it's not always just getting in the door that you're there forever. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that was an amazing opportunity for me and Paolo to be some of the youngest analysts in the PBA. Thankfully to Ronnie and Boswick, and thankfully Twitter wasn't around yet, because if it was, it would be so difficult. So, but it was such a joy to be part of the PBA for those 4 years.
Right. And yun nga, you were 21 noon, parang fresh graduate nga yun, di ba? And I think during your teens, you had battles with yun nga, your mental health, di ba? You've had a lot of challenges around that aspect. How were you able to, did you have battles with imposter syndrome parang when you were starting out? And knowing that you previously or prior to being a sportscaster, di ba, syempre you had battles with your mental health. How were you able to get your confidence? Kasi syempre going through mental health, it's difficult to have, your confidence, your self-worth. Parang did you have those challenges in sportscasting?
Well,
How did you overcome it?
I'm thankful I didn't experience that. First of all, during that time, I didn't even know there was such a thing as imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known if I was going through it at all. But looking back, I'm confident that I didn't, and I'm thankful that I had great support around me. My dad would talk to me almost every day. He would critique me with the things I was saying and things I was doing. Same with Ronnie Nathaniel. He gave me a lot of great feedback, which is rare. I mean, it's rare in any corporate setting that you have a startup, young person coming into a job and you get so much support. I mean, I wish work cultures were better, that feedback and support were better for younger employees starting up, but I know it's not the case. But I was so blessed to have that. And I had such great veteran anchors who've become lifelong friends that really took me under their wing. They led me into the games that we did so well together. Me and Nolly, me and Ed Pixon, and even Mon Liboro and the others. It was such a joy to work with them that I learned it so quickly. But if it wasn't for them, it would have been difficult, and probably there would have been more pressure, and probably, who knows, they may have triggered episodes within me that might have put the pressure. Push me to that. I don't know. But I was just fairly a few years off my first episode in my life, technically speaking, and arguably I was still vulnerable. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I had great support of people who were very supportive and very patient with my growth. And I think that's key for anybody who wants to be emotionally stable in anything they're doing that's challenging and difficult. That if you find that support group of people who will be there to be honest with you, pick you, but be there, for that positive
Right.
support, laking bagay. It's very difficult to do alone.
Correct, correct. So I think the emphasis has always been around the support system that you got, not just from, from your colleagues, 'di ba? But also from your dad as well. So kasi parang typically as a 21, I can only imagine parang ako, parang if I was 21, I'm gonna yung anchor ko sabihin natin si Miko Halili, parang it's gonna be intimidating from my end eh. So but you were able to manage that because you had great support system that were supportive and at the same time that gave you pointers to improve on. So I think that's something that I could take away from, and maybe can take away from. Galing. Appreciate that.
Yeah, ako naman TJ, my question is, since we're talking about mental health, you know my story naman in a nutshell, but my question is, kasi syempre, if you wanna seek help, you do. And for me, I've done that. But for me kasi, it took some time before I fully understood and fully appreciated the sessions, the medications, all those stuff. Parang for you, when did you realize na, kasi syempre sa una, baka resistant ka pa or you weren't 100% into the process. Parang for you, when did you realize na this was really something important, and kumbaga siguro not fully understand but siguro fully appreciate the fact na parang you were parang aware of yourself.
Well, it wasn't difficult to notice because my episodes were bad right away. I was experiencing insomnia, couldn't sleep for days straight out. I don't wish this on anybody, but if you've experienced insomnia wherein, you have to wake up for school the next morning, you're rolling in bed. And, we really tried to visually tell that part of the story in my video. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's called You Will Be All Right. Just do that and my name, you'll see it. It was a rough start. And because of that, I was so desperate for help. And I immediately reached out to my mom and told her what was going on, and we didn't even know what it was. It took a while for us to understand what it was I was going through, that it was a panic attack, an anxiety attack related to insomnia and onset of depression, all this and that. And I'm thankful that one of the first people that we found to help us out is a guy named Max Ricketts. Now, for those of you who are old enough to remember that last name might ring a bell, he is the father of Ronnie Ricketts, the action star.
Yep.
Tito Max, at the time, this is in 1992, he was giving free counseling in a church in Makati for those who are undergoing, depression, anxiety, and even those who are depressed because of long-term illnesses like cancer or AIDS or whatnot. And he was doing this because he survived major depression. He survived manic depression, in fact, in the 70s and the 80s. Wherein back then he was just heavily medicated. There was very little therapeutic help, but he was just all bombarded with medications and whatnot, and he just felt like a vegetable. And he was blessed to find a naturopathic doctor to give him other natural remedies and opportunities to heal himself and cleanse his body. And since then, he would give counseling. And he wrote a book back then at the time in the 90s called Breaking the Chains for Depression. So anyway, when I met Max, here I was in the first few weeks of my first anxiety attack. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
Scary, so freaky. I see him. I was told what he went through was manic depressive. I'm like, he went through worse than me, and boy siya. Okay, wow, thank you. That first of all, just seeing him alive gave me hope. Di ba? Na parang, wow, buhay itong taong to. Laking bagay nito na I can already relate to somebody who's gone
correct.
through it and he's fine. Kasi it was so alien to us what it was. Which, just to jump back and forth a bit, that's why I did the video. One of the biggest reasons why I did the video. So I wanted to show people visually what I went through so I could be Max to them through the internet. I wanted to show them what it was like to go through that, and yet I'm okay. So that what I experienced seeing Max, and he's okay after going through that could help inspire them. So going back to Max, one of the first things he told me though was that this is key to related to what you're asking me, Karen. That's why I'm telling the story. He taught me the power of acceptance. And sabi niya sa akin,
Wow.
it's so important to accept what you're going through. And it's different from giving up and being defeated. Iba yung, okay, talo ko, I have depression, I have anxiety. Hindi ganun. Acceptance meant you understand that there are things that you cannot fully control. You understand that there are a lot of circumstances that brought you to this point today. And at the time, it was a mix of a lot of things. Hereditarily, we were predisposed to these things. I had the pressures of school. I had the pressures of understanding my family situation, that my dad wasn't around and I was a young boy yearning for a father figure. All of that, and the hormonal changes of a teenager. So I had to accept that there were these things that I couldn't control, and I had this condition, and I was told that I had, and I'm like, okay. And it's one thing to be told that you have to accept. It's another thing to actually imbibe it and flip that switch.
And do it. Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Yes.
Iba pa yung full sa half acceptance. Kasi pag half in denial ka pa, a part of you is in denial.
Yes.
Because great point, Dino, because when you get into it, when your first episode of whatever it is, for most of us who have gone through this, the first instinct is to be angry. The first instinct is to go point outwards and blame everybody else. Kasi, Lord, bakit ganito si ganyan? Bakit yung daddy ko? Bakit yung mommy ko? Bakit yung school ko? Puro na lang turo palabas. Diba? Yeah. Yung instinctively na magsisisi tayo, and to the point that we ask God, why me? Diba? And when he told me the power of acceptance was so key, he actually taught me how to accept it first. He taught me the power of affirmations. Sabi niya sa akin, you have to write this down, and you have to say this in the mirror, in your mind, and then you have to say this in the mirror out loud with conviction, and do this 10 times, 3 times a day. And what it was, I accept myself. Yun na lang. I accept myself. And it became that mental vitamin, that affirmation that I was starting to dig into my subconscious, and eventually that it would become my truth, that I understand that I have to accept this. And whenever I talk about acceptance, it's giving the best analogy I can give always is, imagine you're driving a car with a flat tire. Imagine you're driving that car, you can't deny that it's flat forever and expect the car to get to where you're going and try to make it run optimum speed. It's going to take a moment for you to stop the car, step out of it, and say, hey, look at that. It's flat. There's something wrong. It's going to be difficult, but I'll do something to fix it and change it. And then, you put the spare tire, the jack, and all this stuff. It's never going to be the same again because it's now a spare tire.
Yeah.
But the car's going to run. And you'll get to where you're going. Yun yung acceptance para sa akin. Na matatanggap naman, hindi na siguro ako kasing normal ng karamihan, pero I'll be okay. Kaya ko to. I know what to do to live with this. And that eventually was a strong foundation in my journey to wellness. Nung nalaman ko yung power ng acceptance, na matatanggap ko na, oo nga, maraming bagay sa buhay na hindi ko naman makakontrol eh. So bakit ko pa pagbubuo ng stress? Eventually. So that was so key, Ken. So to answer again the short question and long answer, it was the power of acceptance at the very beginning. Really, from the very beginning, it was so key that I was so blessed that that seed was planted in my subconscious that eventually, after about 4 or 5 years, it really bore fruit. And I was able to really learn to live my life with balance and wellness all throughout.
TJ, having gone through that experience, like, what is one thing, I'm just curious lang, what is one thing, and being an advocate for mental health and wellness, what is one thing you wish people knew about depression? And nowadays, how do you cope with your mental health and wellness?
One thing that if there's one most important thing I would like people to know about depression and anxiety, and I'm a firm believer of this, maybe not everybody believes this, I believe it's preventable. At least the extreme cases. Yes,
Preventable.
and that the science will show that there is a significant percentage of us that are in it of chemical imbalances. Okay? So, yung mga may chemical imbalances na kasama na ako dun, ang tawag sa amin, predisposed. Pag predisposed ka, ang ibig lang sabihin naman nun, higher risk ka. Hindi ibig sabihin na automatic magkakaroon ka. Same thing
Okay.
thing with predisposition with other conditions na napagmamanahan ng iba. For example, cancer runs in the family, diabetes runs in the family, heart disease runs in the family. Predisposed sila. But guess what? Pag na-warningan silang predisposed sila, the doctors, at least for those conditions, 20, 30 years ago, were becoming more educated and learned to tell them, hey, you can prevent this with proper lifestyle, with a better lifestyle. Predisposed ka, mataas ang risk mo for heart disease, but guess what? If you eat healthy, you exercise, you don't smoke, you don't drink, you'll be okay. Diba? So, same thing with anxiety and depression. Some of us may be predisposed, but still, majority of those who get anxiety and depression, the numbers show, I just don't have it right now, would be shockingly, actually don't have the predisposition of the chemical imbalances. They are a victim of the social pressures around them, that they've grown up
Peer
with.
pressure. Yeah.
Not necessarily peer pressure, isa na yung dino, but a lot of pressures, a lot of disconnections, put it that way. One of the most powerful books that I read in the last year is a book by Johan Hari. It's called The Lost Connection. So I encourage anybody who wants to learn more about depression and anxiety to pick up that book. It's on Amazon, it's on Kindle, iBooks, or audiobook, whatever. The Lost Connections by Johan Hari. And basically he researched all of the, what he calls the 8 major reasons and causes of depression and anxiety, and the cures for them. And a lot of it has to do with, not to spoil the book, but a lot of it has to do with, losing connections to the important things in your life, like connections to family, connections to, quality relations, connections to work that means a lot to you, connections to nature and your physical health. So a lot of that. And ang point niya, kapag marami kang imbalances na, you're so susceptible to these outside triggers. Okay. So long story short, I can go on with this literally for hours, but my message is I believe that it is preventable. If we have a proper lifestyle already, that we can strengthen especially the youth, because it starts with young nowadays. It's starting younger and younger. If we are able to plant seeds of all these skills that they need to make themselves more emotionally and mentally resilient, finding that balance early on, understanding that there are these things that are unhealthy for them to get involved in, that could trigger these things for them. I'm sure mas marami pang mababawasan natin ng mga evidences of or incidences of depression, anxiety, and consequently we can save lives of those who go in the extreme ends that have gone to self-harm or even suicide. So that's my take on it. I'm an advocate for that. Some may disagree or whatnot and say, hindi, chemical imbalances lang and gamot lang.
Preventable.
It's not always the case. There are extreme cases that medication is the only answer, and in extreme cases, I understand that. But for the vast majority of them, I believe that if they practice a lot of these things that they can do to make themselves more healthy and well, it is preventable. So to the part 2 of your question, what am I doing now?
Yeah, how do you cope with it? Yeah.
I was recently part of an event with I think it was Doc GSC and Chuck Reyes. This was a webinar for AXA Philippines, and I was able to put an acronym to what I do now, and I put it as GAME, GAME, for the love of a game.
Yon. Okay. Very connected.
G really stands for gratitude, and I learned more about this during the pandemic, how powerful gratitude is. I was already getting into it a bit before I left 2017, 2018, when I was starting to give some talks, and I was seeing there was so much scientific study on gratitude, on how this can affect humans' happiness and productivity. And all the more I picked it up during the pandemic, and so much so that I actually now have a gratitude journal. Okay. So so simple. You really just pick that up, fill it up, what the things you're grateful for, asks you the 3 things you're grateful for, what would make today great, your daily affirmations, and then at the end of the day, you look back at your day, three things amazing that happened today, and how could you make today better. When you start doing this and it starts becoming regular, you write down the things you're grateful for, even the most mundane things. I'll never forget the first time I did a gratitude practice was in the morning. I said, I'm grateful for my cup of coffee I'm about to have. I'm grateful for the hug of my family, my kids. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have my career. And I was like, wow, teka lang, whoa, what just happened? Sabi ko,
Yeah.
ang sarap ng
Grabe.
na-verbalize ko, nasulat ko, nakita ko sa mata ko, damn, o ano, ang dami palang pwedeng pasalamatan sa mundong ito. Sometimes kasi we just tend to think about the problems right away. You know,
Yeah,
people,
correct.
why a lot of mental wellness experts nowadays really insist that gratitude practice should be done in the morning. Because more often than not, in the morning, we're panicking. We're like, ay, naku, late na naman tayo. Ay, naku, may
Tama.
info. Pagalitan naman ako ang boss ko. Or, ay, ang daming ay, naku. Di ba? Na we're starting the day with so much panic and hysteria. But if you start with gratitude, it sets the tone. And it's amazing. So that's G. A, I've discussed this, acceptance, diba? So, yun yung superpower ko na I know when to shed off the stress of others because I don't have full control of everything that happens in and around my life. I will put effort into everything I do to have an impact on everything I do, but I know the boundaries of allowing myself to be stressed and worried about certain things when I know something that I don't have full control over.
Yeah.
And this is a sports podcast. I'd love to give you this nugget of concretization of what I learned about acceptance of all people from LeBron James.
Oh.
Ang kapete ka lang.
Exciting. From LeBron James, acceptance.
I think it was 2013 or 2014. I'm not sure, but he was with the Miami Heat and he was asked by the reporters about the pressures of his legacy and how he was chasing Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant at the time. And, you know, most reporters probably forget this answer now, but it meant so much to me. When he said, you know what, guys, I give my best out there every night on the floor. And honestly, whatever the results are, I can live with it. Because out of the court, I have my family, I have my life, I'm good, and I'm happy. And I'm like, oh ano, pag dinesect mo ng mas masinsinan yung sinabi niya yun, pareho sa mindset ko, sabi ko, pareho sa mindset ko na hindi mo naman kontrolado lahat eh. LeBron James nga siya, oo nga. Pero there are 9 other guys on the court. May 3 referee na may pito. Hindi mo kontrolado lahat ng results. Kahit na sabi mong superhero ka na athlete, hindi mo control lahat ng mangyayari sa court. So therefore for him, I will try and do my best and everything, and I will do my best to win this game, win this championship. But if it doesn't, well, it doesn't. It's okay. I won't be devastated kasi yun yung dinidiin sa kanyang ng narrative ng media eh. Na
dami mo talo sa finals. Dami mo talo sa finals.
Din sa kanya, dapat you feel like a failure, dapat you feel like ganyan kasi parang sabi niya, hindi, sorry, hindi. Sabi niya, ako natatanggap ko naman na may panalo niya talo. I played this game the best way I think it's supposed to be played, and I love it. And I'm like, but damn, that was it. That was acceptance for me. Okay? That was accepting that things in life that you can't control, and one of which is winning a basketball game.
Yeah.
And fully control that. You can you can impact on it, you can have an influence on it as a great player, but you can never guarantee a win. You can never guarantee it. So yun yung point niya. I was like, wow, okay, so acceptance. Okay. Next, letter M. Meditation. I mean, this might sound like mumbo jumbo voodoo hipster stuff for some people, but please do a little bit of research and you'll find out that some of the best athletes, some of the best CEOs in the world, entrepreneurs, are meditation practitioners. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, a lot of them have been meditating, still are meditating. In fact, here, LeBron, you see him, magugulat ka na lang, dati nakita ko, there's this billboard for this app called Calm. It's a meditation app. The endorser was LeBron James. Okay? And, you know, he had this, he was a picture of him with his eyes closed and whatnot. So, I think I'm getting a call on my messenger. Pasensya na. Sa inyo ba yun sa akin? Sa akin.
Sa'yo ata.
Okay. Anyway, one sec, go on a podcast.
Yeah. But I mean, with Ken, with what TJ mentioned, di ba we're already in a social media age. I don't know if you agree with me, TJ. Parang just to sorry to butt in, but When you mentioned LeBron James nga, talking about that, yung pressure na binibigay sa kanya ng media. We live in a social media age na we have to acknowledge, ang dami talagang galit daming haters nila, bro, ang dami niyang critics, di ba? But I have to salute yung how he takes care of his mental health.
Yes, absolutely.
Kasi grabe yung bashers niya, di ba? Halos every game niya, every season, every playoffs, merong di ba? You gotta give hats off to him. Kasi si Jordan during his time, ang kalaban lang niya, newspapers eh.
Correct.
Wala pa siyang Twitter, wala pa siyang
Meron
Instagram.
ESPN ng konti, may radyo. But yeah, walang
Iba eh. Iba yung what players receive now as compared to before. I don't know if you agree with me on that, TJ. So you gotta give hats off to LeBron din for being able to play at a high level while managing all of this noise outside of the game.
Well, may kwento pa ako dyan. So, sige, singit ko muna before I elaborate on the meditation.
Sige. Meditation, yeah.
This was asked of me actually yesterday in another event I guessed it on. It was cool because somebody asked me, what's your most memorable sports coverage? And actually, or sabi niya interview. And it's hard to answer that, but the thing that popped right away in my head was the moment that I interviewed Eric Spoelstra. I'm honestly not sure if this was before or after they won the championship in Miami, but I asked him, what's it like coaching this super team? How do you do it? I mean, how do you handle all these egos?
Yeah.
All these superstars. And he said, you know what? The secret to this team and how we keep this team as a team together is that we have all agreed and imbibed the value of compartmentalizing our lives. Kung alam niyo yung vitamin container na may Monday to Friday, may
Yeah. Yes.
Diba? Yung mga bookshelf sa likod ko, compartment yan eh. At pag may compartmentalizing ka na, parang baonan din natin yan sa nung bata tayo. May pang rice, may pang ulam. Hindi nag-aapaw-apaw yan eh kapag maayos yung compartments mo. Diba? So yun yung point niya. It's so critical to understand that mindset that here you're on the basketball court, you play a role. You're the point guard, you're the center, you're the coach, you're the off-the-bench guy, you're whatever. You're not the superstar, you're not the endorser, you're not the businessman, you're not the dad or whoever you are. You can deal with that when you get outside of the court. Right. But beyond that, this is who you are. And that's how he was able to get everybody to buy in their roles, no matter how big their egos could have been and should have been as superstars. And for me, it was so powerful because if you think about that, it applies to everybody in life. We do so many different things. We can be, working in the office, and then we go home. We're still a son to our parents. We're still a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner to our loved ones, and we could be a father, son, or a friend. And then, ang daming iba-ibang bagay na if we're careless, the stresses and the worries can overflow and get too complicated. And it's sad because the others don't deserve that. And it's not to be so stressed at work, uwi ka sa bahay, galit ka pa rin sa boss mo, madadami yung anak at kapatid.
Correct, yes.
They don't deserve that. Diba? And you don't deserve that. If you love yourself enough, you don't deserve that stress. You don't have to know when to shut the door. That's over, okay, I'll do that tomorrow. Work is done, flip the switch, next one. So but the key is to understand that mindset that you have that compartment in your life. So for LeBron, I think that mattered so much to him as well when he was with Eric Spoelstra of compartmentalizing the life. So anyway, back to letter M of meditation. G-A-M-E. I tried meditation as a kid. You may have seen it in the video. I glanced upon it a bit in the You Will Be Alright video when I said that my mom and I tried a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But the challenging thing was when I was 14, she made me do Zen meditation. And that was so hard. I don't know if you're familiar with Zen meditation, but you sit in a Zendo with a Zen master. You're told to keep quiet for an hour and think of nothing. Really? At 14 years old? I mean, who knows if I do this, but that was so hard. Lo and behold, ang dami pala ibang forms and methods and practices.
Yeah.
And I encountered this again, heavily and seriously last year during the start of the pandemic. Wherein there was just so much stress in the pandemic, and there was this guy, his name is Jay Shetty, actually, I have his book right here.
Yeah, Jay Shetty.
Him on Instagram and Facebook. This guy used to be a former monk. He's now
renowned international speaker.
National speaker, and he's trying to spread wisdom all over the internet. And On his Facebook page last year, he started a 21-day daily meditation challenge for free. I'm like, okay, I'm joining. And it's a
Yeah.
guided meditation. And sabi ko, ang galing pala ng meditation na to because I never knew there was such a thing as guided meditation. At my mo, pare 10 minutes lang.
Yung isa yung 1 hour yung Zen.
Eh. 10 minutes lang. Sabi ko, wow, ang galing pala nito. So I really got hooked on it. And then the 21 days went so well. And then he did another 21 days. So we did 42 days straight. And it was amazing because it was live at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I was so fortunate because my kids were homeschooled at the time because of the pandemic. So I didn't have to drive into school. I was able to do it before my work. And it was so powerful for me to finally get the full benefits of meditation and how it just grounds me, makes me a stronger person, makes me fully aware, makes me more relaxed and calm and able to really handle my emotions and my thought process and everything. Fast forward, I'll tell you the secret of what happened that benefited me with meditation. The ABS-CBN shutdown. If there's anything that probably could have and should have triggered another anxiety episode for me or depression, that should have been it. Okay, that should have been it. We were watching it from here, from far away, with fears and worries and fears, texting my friends and my colleagues, and we were all worried and scared for our company, for our job, for our future. But for some amazing reason, I was grounded. I was steady. I was there. I could feel it. The pain was there. The fear was there. The crying was there. But I was not out of control. I didn't lose it. I didn't panic. And I'm like, I remember I was talking to my sister. I'm like, I can't believe it that I didn't have an episode. And not even one insomnia night. Not even one night of hard to sleep. And I'm like, what it is? I think it's because I've been meditating. And I've become a stronger person. I mean, I thought I was strong already, mindset-wise. I didn't know I could have been stronger. There was a deeper, stronger me that I realized that was the benefit of meditation. And I'll never forget one reflection I told this to my sister and her friends and some people who were into this. I said, you know what? What I realized about that ABS shutdown episode was that never in my life have I been so far pushed out of my comfort zone, but I've never felt so alive. Yung tipong all your nerves and senses were just so alive. Parang may anxiety, may whatever, pero buhay ka. Parang grateful ako na hindi ako numb. Yun yung realization. Parang, okay, gets ko. I'm pushed out of my comfort zone. I'm being challenged to fall over and this and that, but yet I'm thankful I'm alive. I'm thankful that it feels so alive to be part of this challenging times, put it that way. So amazing. It circled back to gratitude. Parang grateful ako na may challenges ka. So, wow.
Yeah.
That was meditation for me. It's such a gift. Now the last one, letter E. Simply to evolve. I've been in this my life the last, I think, 3-4 years. I haven't been settling for who I am and what I am. I've been investing in myself to learn more about becoming a better human being, becoming a better father, becoming a better husband, becoming a better leader in my work, and becoming a better storyteller to tell stories as a journalist. And I've learned never to settle. And I just know that if I keep investing in myself and try to find ways to improve and be better, even just, that's why I wanted to, you asked me, remember, what can we title this episode? I said, let's call it Be Better. Because I have a constant mindset now that tomorrow I want to wake up and I'm trying to find ways to learn something new. Maybe I can think of being better 1% today and 1% tomorrow. Just take baby steps of trying to be better. Don't overwhelm yourself with saying, I gotta be this and that.
Yeah, right.
Inunti-unti mo, konti-konti lang, you'll be surprised.
Day by day.
What benefits you can get, what growth you can get, what mileage you can get after a certain span of time. Like, you look back and like, wow, look what I did. And I remember one of the reflections that Jay Shetty I saw a few weeks ago talking about goal setting. Di ba ang daming nagtuturo ng goal setting? Lalo na pag it's great. At a goal. But how many of us really get those goals? Very small. He did give a percentage of a study of a Gallup poll, but I forgot what it was. Hit ng percentage na nakakapag-achieve ng goal. So sabi niya, problema doon, ang dami ito na devastate. Na parang, okay, I tried to lose weight. I went to the gym for 5 days.
I wasn't able to hit it.
Exactly. Pero ang point niya, hindi naman yun yung point. So okay pa naman goal set, but the true focus should be on your growth. It's growth setting. So you set your goal, but at the end of the time span you had a goal set, it's very likely you didn't attain the goal. But if you look back and you saw all your efforts, you're like, hey, but
There was growth.
I grew so much. So then I can just focus on growing pala every day, every week, every month. And then lo and behold, the weeks go by, the months go by, the years go by, and you realize, you look back, I'm a better human being. I'm a better person. I can have a better positive impact on people's lives. And for me, that's the way I understand the cycle of life now. If you want to be happy, try to make an impact on someone's life. You'd be surprised how it makes you happy when you engage somebody in a casual conversation. You make them smile, you make them laugh. Look at yourself and like, that was cool. You feel the joy. I mean, if you've ever given any donation to a foundation,
Charity.
or ever volunteered, whatever, try to go back to those feelings and try to feel what it felt like. And you remember that you made yourself happy. So you gifted two people. You gifted the people you helped, and you gifted yourself with that jolt of happiness. And so for me, it's that. So yeah, just to wrap it up, game. Gratitude,
Acceptance.
evolving. It's always evolve. It's never settle for being who we are today na magaling na tayo or whatnot. But you can be a better version of yourself tomorrow. And
Right.
and that's how I invest in my mental health.
Right. Grabe. So guys, reminder lang, game. So gratitude, acceptance, meditation, and
Evolution.
Diba? Be better. So yun yung reason bakit be better was the title of this episode. Diba? TJ, I'm just curious, being a dad now and being a husband, like coming from your experience at a very young age wherein your mom and dad was separated, what did you take away from that experience, and how are you, what did you learn from that experience that you're doing right now as a dad and as a husband to your wife and kids?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of it is acceptance, na parang tanggap ko naman na hindi nag-work out for my mom and my dad. And actually, sometimes it's funny when I look back at it. I'm like, ano ba kayo nagkayong laban? Kasi hindi kayo bagay. When I really got to know my dad and my mom was growing up, like, really? You actually find love at some point in this world? Thank you. Okay, at least you were together enough for you to give birth to my sister and I. But anyway, kidding aside, I was just able to understand that there are things you just have to accept, diba? And that there are things that happen. And but what the learning that it gave me to become a dad, it just made me realize the importance of investing in your relationships with your spouse, with your kids. It's not autopilot. Ang daming mga nagpapakasal dyan, biglang nagkakapamilya, and they think that they can just cruise control like they were single. Hindi. Daming pagbabago eh. And with those changes, there's so much investment that needs to be done. And I'm not necessarily talking financial, but in terms of time, emotional investment, and understanding the other human beings who are with you and around you in your household that are totally new to you and you're new to them. You used to live in your mom's place, your dad's place, whatever, and all of a sudden you're with somebody else 24/7. It's so different. So I always told myself that the lessons I learned from the pain I learned growing up would help me become a better father. But I'm not here to raise my bench or magtaas ng silining bangko and I'm the greatest father of all time or whatever. I'm constantly learning. When I make mistakes, I apologize to my kids. When I'm too busy with work, I apologize to my kids and all this.
Mm-hmm.
But the mindset of always wanting to be a better version for them is always there. So that it helped a lot. And in fact, part of my journey of putting my video together was an event I was part of with Brother Bo Sanchez, if you're familiar with him from the Feast and the Kerygma group. And one of the reflections I gave about my experience was, I realized my pain was my biggest blessing. Because now I learn from that pain and I can share that pain, how I overcame it, and now I'm able to bless others. So it was mine. So I don't look back on that as a regret. I don't look back on that part of my life as something I want to change. Some people have asked me that now. If you have a time machine, can you change things in your life? Nothing. I absolutely won't change anything. I'm so grateful for where I am right now that all of this is because of what I went through throughout my whole life. All those ups and downs, all the pain as well. And I wouldn't have been the same person who've learned all those life lessons without that. So I'm grateful for all of them, for all of that, for the hurt, the pain, all that, and the ups and happy times too. So yeah.
Right, right.
That's a cool question, Dino. That's never been asked of me actually, by the way. So
Yeah. I just got curious kasi syempre going through that, parang how were you able to, kumbaga, what did you take away from that and you brought,
Mhm.
ano yung dinala mo as being a family man right now, di ba? Kasi some certain experiences changes us or changes our perspective.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
was just curious, like how did it change you going through that experience?
Mhm.
Like you said, you didn't want, parang if you were to go back, you didn't want to change anything.
No,
But
no.
I guess it's being able to accept that pain and it became your blessing to be maybe a better father or a better human being coming from that experience.
Mhm.
So, nakakatuwa lang that you embrace that, di ba?
Yeah.
Sometimes kasi, I don't know, maybe for me, it's difficult to, accept certain things and minsan half acceptance eh. I think that's the parang half acceptance ka and still in denial. But
Mhm.
I do appreciate you for sharing that. And going through yung 20-year journey mo, 20, I think you've been in the broadcasting
Yeah, 20 years.
career for more than 20 years. 21,
21.
21, di
Yeah.
ba?
Year 2000 yun eh.
21 eh. Parang, I was just curious, like, what would you credit the success, kumbaga, what would you accredit the success of your career? Saan mo i-credit yung success of what you've accomplished starting out sa MBA and then at 21 years old and now you're the North American News Bureau Chief for the ABS-CBN. What would you credit yung success mo? And at the same time, what was your biggest lesson as a sports journalist and as a sports broadcaster? Kasi just to give you an example, si Migs Bustos, ang sinabi niya, ang natutunan niya, never to ask athletes when are they gonna hang it up. I don't know for you, what was yours? Kasi sabi niya, parang athletes never think about parang if they're competing, hindi nila inisip kailan sila maghahang up. They're gonna come out on their own terms.
Mhm.
Like personally for you, what was your biggest takeaway from being a sports journalist? And at the same time, where would you accredit your success to?
Okay. So a few parts of that. First of all, thank you. I mean, honestly, I would never brand myself as successful. I defer accolades, let it come from other people. So
Mm.
appreciate that, but I'll never brand myself as that. I'm a successful so and so and so. I think the key to my improvement is just that the willingness to always improve, the willingness to continue learning, to evolve in my craft. Sometimes people may fall into the trap of magaling na ako eh, award winning na ako eh. So they can get into their head, they can get complacent, and all this and that. So I think the key to me was always wanting to learn.
Yeah.
Me always wanting to improve and be better in what I was doing, whether it's sportscasting, news reporting, news anchoring, or TV hosting. With regards to one of the hardest lessons I learned, um, siguro, yeah, there was a down. I've had some downs in my career. Funny, this is something that few people know about externally, but I'll share it now. It's all done with. But there was a time that I was covering the Ascals when they were ascending. It was the start of their ascent.
Yeah.
The Suzuki Cup. Forgot exactly what year it was. Some time ago, probably might have been 2012 in Indonesia. And so we were covering their journey to the semifinals and time in the finals. And in journalistic parlance, put it this way, naskupan ako. Okay,
Na?
by my naskupan ako.
Naskupan.
When you say that naskupan ako, is nagkaroon ng exclusive yung competitor. Nawala.
Okay.
Okay.
And that happened to me because of he's my friend, and we're competitors with my friend. Si Chino Trinidad. Okay. Got the better of me twice. I'll leave the details to us of what he was able to find that I didn't see. And nagalitan ako. internally. And if you're observant, you will observe na after that, I did report in the ASCAS again. So that was my quote-unquote punishment. Natanggal natanggal sa akin yung beat na ASCAS because I slipped twice. I was careless twice for that day. And it was passed on to Bayan Casilino, our other sports supporter. Our other sports
Yeah. Right.
started covering ASCAS all the way from there. And then there were times I covered ASCAS a few times after that. But that was only because she would be busy with Pacquiao or something else. So, but naging priority beat niya yung ASCAS na rin. Which is, I learned to accept that mistake. But what I learned was that, I had to be more aggressive. I had to be more aggressive in covering, the story, especially when it's of utter importance na for our audiences and something we're in. Alam mo naman tayo, Pinoy sports fans, kapag may sumisikat na athlete or team, we just want to know everything about them. Hindi na tayo kontento sa game result lang eh. Di ba? Lahat na ng kwentong mapupulot natin about them, gusto na natin mapakinggan, at mabasa, di ba, or mapanood. So that was a learning lesson for me, that I just had to show that aggressiveness, and I think I've carried that all throughout the exam. Case in point, the hustle I showed with Lucas Sasso.
Yeah, you say I was gonna refer to that na naging aggressive ka na dun sa pagiging part ng media dun sa mismo game, di lang virtual, di ba?
Exactly. The hustle started to just elevate, and I never gave up. I was already cramping up in whatever, and I still didn't give up, and I wanted to be there every shot, every blow by blow of the way, and I knew I owed it to the audience. But that's my commitment, for us in ABS-CBN. That's our commitment in the service of the Filipino, to give you the best at what we can do, to give you the best coverage that we can. So if it takes sometimes pushing ourselves to the physical limits once in a while, we'll do it. So that's what I learned. So I've never shared that particular story before. So thank you for asking that question. You got that out of me.
Yeah. I thank you also for sharing that, kasi di ba parang typically it wasn't, it's something that goes behind the scenes that people don't know about. Di ba, dami pang nagagalit sa'yo na pinapaboran mo isang team when you do your job, but you also have your own struggles as well eh. And di ba, parang kumbaga tayo, we have, ako, like everyone else has their own challenges and struggles. Yung mga sila TJ Manotoc, meron din silang pinagdadaanan as in terms of their career.
Everybody goes through something, no matter what level we are in our careers.
Right.
Everybody goes through. Nobody's smooth sailing, perfect all the way.
Right. Yeah, TJ, here on For the Love, before we wrap things up, we actually have this segment that we call Bet on Yourself. So we actually allow our guests, no? Kasi apparently, di ba, syempre, sabi mo nga, you don't really think about the accolades, but you have, di ba? Parang you have certain achievements. But here in this segment, we actually allow them to declare certain things that they want to happen, or certain goals that you have in mind right now. But you were mentioning nga kanina, don't focus on the goal, but growth, di ba? But is there any particular thing na gusto mong i-declare dito, na maybe something we can look back once you get to that point?
Naks. Wow, pressure.
Like example, okay, parang hindi pressure. So, a fellow sports broadcaster, Mix Bustos. Ang goal niya was to actually be able to be the head coach of LaSalle Zobel High School Basketball. And another was to be able to call a UAAP game. Kasi sa NCAA lang siya, di ba? That was his goal.
Okay.
What would
that was his goal before. So
No. That was what he declared during our episode.
Declared your episode. Okay. Well, okay. Goal. Pwede bang 6-pack abs? Kahit 40 na.
Pwede. That can be one.
No,
yun ba?
No, well, that's one of them. Honestly, but it's gonna be hard because I understand the science of that. So for you to have, if you want that kind of abs, yung mukha mo magiging gaunt. Talagang yung body fat mo babagsak. It's another story. But anyway, no, I mean, one of the goals I have is really to have more of an impact. I'm not settling. I want to have more of an impact on people's lives, a positive impact. I mean, it was an interesting pivot that happened when I left the Philippines in 2018 because parang nang hinayang ako sa momentum of my mental health advocacy. I just launched the video and I have plans for the rest of the things that we could do with the YouTube channel and the Facebook group and whatnot. And I was being invited to give so many talks already to different schools and companies. And I was like, sayang naman if there's one downer with me physically leaving Philippines, yun yung nakaka-down ng konti. But I'm thankful now with Zoom, StreamYard, all these technologies, we're able to connect. Diba? So I've still been around, quote unquote, and able to make my presence felt in some events. So I'm grateful for that. But beyond that, I've seen, parang feeling ko siguro these last 2.5 years that I've been away from that.
From the fit, yeah.
I've been investing more in myself, learning more. There's a lot of things here that I've been exposed to physically before the pandemic that I was able to learn a lot from. I've attended some seminars and some events. In fact, I have a picture with Jay Shed. I met him in LA.
Yeah.
I went to an event that he was speaking at and things like that. And there's just so much more to learn about being a better human being. And this is beyond my work as a journalist, beyond what I do for ABS-CBN. And I've always felt that I have this opportunity and blessing to share things to it's the job of a journalist. We tell stories, diba? But whenever I would pray to God and say thank you for my career, but I always pray and say, Lord, sana you bless me also with opportunities that I can share stories that could inspire and help people.
Yeah.
Because I want to be that vessel, that that messenger, so to speak. It's not coming from me. I'm not exactly, you're an instrument. I'm not inventing these things like you guys are. I'm grateful that there are people like you and shows like you because you're able to pull out the human side of personalities and sports personalities, and people can learn from them, and your fans can be more inspired about. But so that's it. I mean, I'm not to put it out there too concretely, but there's some things that I'm working on that it could be another platform. But for sure, what I promise you guys that I'll be doing stuff that more focus on helping people improve their lives, and as the title of this particular episode goes, to be better. I mean, it's just wonderful to think of those two words that can be powerful to us, diba? Parang, and that's why if you look back at the title of our video also, You Will Be Alright. I mean, I was discussing that with my friend and our producer. Hindi naman namin sinabing i-title natin yan na The Cure to Depression or the Survival Kit or whatever it is. Pero simple lang. Minimum promise, you will be alright. Diba? Hindi naman pinapangako you'll be cured or you'll be this and that, pero you'll be alright. So I think 3 years after that, my next chapter or my next message to a lot of people is you can be better and you will be better. But it'll take work. It'll take some work to invest in yourself, to be humble enough to know that there are things you can learn, to be humble enough to know that there are things that you can change in your lifestyle and your habits, that you'll be surprised that if you put that time and investment in it, you can be a better person. And when you start becoming a better person, the magic happens around you. You can start impacting people around you in your life, whether it's your close relationships or it's your work or your community or organization. And I think that's key to having a better world. I mean, we all aspire for a better world. We all hope that things get better around us.
Right.
We may be sports fans. We may revel in the sport that we watch, but outside of it, there's reality in the real world life that we want things to be improved. Diba? So, so the long answer to your short question.
dapat may be better colon the long answer to your short question. But abangan yan. Ibig sabihin ng abangan yung mga gagawin ni TJ for, I think in particular, is helping people when it comes to mental health and wellness.
But I think that it's beyond that, because like I said earlier, when you asked me about it, one of my messages, I think it's preventable. And when you say it's preventable, then it now encompasses everybody.
Yeah.
Mental wellness should be a focus of everybody, not just people who are challenged by mental health challenges now, but by everybody, especially. And if you're a parent out there who may have kids who are teenagers or soon to be teenagers, I appeal to you to understand this. This is an important thing to know, that your kids will soon be entering this world of social media, of high school, of all these stresses of thinking of college, all that. They will be susceptible to so many stresses that they could have mental health challenges. So what you can do now is start learning how to invest in their mental wellness and being more aware and cultivating a relationship para, they're more prepared, because
Right.
they're going to be vulnerable out in the wild. Diba? So whenever I give talks before in schools, my message to parents and teachers that let's be more focused as well in prioritizing mental wellness as we have always been for physical wellness. Diba nung bata, mga parents natin, huwag kang tatakbo, Ken, magpapaka ka, magkakasakit ka. Bino, huwag ka magpapaulan, magkakasakit ka, magkakatrangkaso ka. Natin, di ba mga magulang natin masyadong praning, because they love us,
Yeah.
sa ating
Correct.
physical health. Di ba? Physical health.
Pero emotional.
Huwag kang magkakasakit, huwag kang magkakasugat, huwag kang magkakapentlat. Pero, as you said, Dino, sa emotional health, ganun din ba? Ganun din ba sila ka-aware? Ganun din ba sila...
Bawal umiyak ang mga lalaki.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things. There's so many layers, so many levels of that na pag pinapat mo sa mirror yan sa mga magulang ngayon of nowadays, parang po, ang dami ko pa lang pwedeng matutunan, even just from an awareness standpoint, to just be more cognizant and be more present, to just observe your kids and try to really look at those telltale signs, how they're feeling, how their emotions are. And when they're younger palang, open up that conversation. It's great to talk about emotions.
Yeah.
Yung mga tipong, kamusta yung araw mo today? Minsan kasi mga parents, kamusta yung grades mo today? Quiz mo? Mag-on this quarter, gano'n. Sige. Pero if you ask them, how did you feel? Ano pa kaya mo? Away ba kayo ng best mo sa school? How did you feel about it?
Yeah.
Mga things like that, diba?
Galing.
I'll leave you guys with two more things. Recently, nung graduation season, I posted something on all the
I saw that. Yeah.
Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, which you may have noticed, I rarely post, things that are personal and opinionated. But I did. I was just overloaded in my feed with people I know, friends or acquaintances or whatever, that they were praising their college and high school graduate kids and their medals and achievements, which is great. Oh, well and good. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
But my message was for those who were not getting honors, those who were struggling, those who barely graduated, those who were forced to repeat or got kicked out. And I said it was like me. I was never an honor student. Like you guys. And my message to them was, this is a shout out to you. You're not defined by this chapter of your life. It's never gonna, the grades that will be marked on a piece of paper is not gonna define you forever.
Yeah.
Tapon mo na yan. Diba? Just you go do your thing and learn and evolve as a human being after high school, after college, and know that, you'll be okay. Diba? And it's sad sometimes that the focus is always only on the few percentage of those who are
the medals.
The medals. Pero sa totoo lang, the reality of that is ang konti lang nila eh. Diba?
Right.
Say you go to a big private school and there's 1,000 students, ilan bang honor student? 50. Sandaan? Paano naman yung 900? Papalag yun. Pero ang lungkot nila kasi hindi sila pinipost ng parents nila sa Facebook, walang may
correct.
That's where I struggle. I had no right or wrong definition for that. I had no judgment whatsoever, but I wanted to speak to the 90% of those who are just average students, because that's the majority of us.
Parang babalik pa din dun sa sinasabi mong goal setting versus growth setting. Kasi at the end of the day, you graduated pa rin eh. You passed.
Yeah.
Ang point ko dun, yung pace of growth natin iba eh. Diba? I mean, now I'm a better learner than I was when I was in college. Diba? I'm so better now. If I had this mindset and maturity when I was 18, I could probably be a dean's district now because I learned.
Yeah.
Distractions. So it's just that pace ng maturity natin, iba eh. Ibang level. Tanggapin natin yun. Huwag natin pipwersa. Diba? So, and it doesn't mean failure. Kasi wala naman, sa totoo lang, wala naman shot luck ang buhay.
Yun.
I mean, yes, life expectancy is what, maybe 80, 90 years old, fine.
Yeah.
Pero wala naman tayo shot clock eh. Wala tayong quarter buzzer na, tapos na, failure ka. Walang ganun eh. You can always try again. You can always learn. You can always, and I've always said this before, people who interview me they ask me about failures. I'm like, I don't even have that in my book. I don't have failures as part of my vocabulary. It's not even there. I have challenges. I have
Learning experiences.
Or that I didn't make those goals, but I call them learning experiences. I never call them failures. Kasi failure is nilagyan mo ng katapusan eh. Okay, fail. Hindi, it's why? Why do you need even to label it such? It's not important. But if you label them in your mind as learning experiences, goals missed, but challenges, then great. Then you see that there's growth. Diba? So that's one. So, and then my last bit of things I wanted to share, but related to, I remember it when I was talking about parents being more present and aware of their kids. I might have mentioned this in Montreal's podcast. It's off the bench. Yung favorite part ko sa Michael Jordan documentary.
Yeah. He was always present when he was in the court.
Pero, sino nagsabi nun? Nagsabi nun yung kanyang biographer. It's on the court, if you dig back, I mean, I posted it somewhere. I don't know, it's hard to find in my timeline, but I took a video recording of that audio. I took a recording of the audio and I put a photo, parang hindi naman pirated, diba? So, I didn't want to pirate it. And I said, this is my favorite part of the documentary. When his biographer said, the greatest gift of Michael Jordan was not his physical attributes or his physical gifts of an athlete or whatnot, but his greatest gift was his ability to always be present, whether it's on the basketball court, on the practice court, in a meeting, with his family, or whatever it is. He's never distracted with whatever's outside. He's never worried about the future. He's never regretting the past. He's always present. And I don't know where he got that. Maybe he got that from Phil Jackson's wisdom, from the Zen meditation, whatever books he had, whatever it is. He developed it, and that was his superpower. He was always present in everything.
Locked in.
Exactly. Super focused, super present. And that is a superpower we can all harness. We're not 6'6", 220 pounds with a 40-inch vert. So we can't do all that he does in basketball court. But if we're all harnessing that power of being present and grateful for the present and focusing on this and now, with everybody we interact with our kids, our parents, our schoolmates, our loved ones, imagine what kind of a human being you can be.
Yeah.
Diba? So yun yung pinaka-jaw-dropping moment ko sa documentary. Wow.
Grabe.
This guy is something else. And,
bumalik ka rin pala ng Funko.
Ito lang. Wala akong collection. Nakita ko lang to one day sa Target. Sabi ko, $15 lang. Sige, bibili ako.
Wow.
Hindi naman ako nagko-collect. But, sige, this is good. So,
Grabe. Ito sabi nga ni, ayun Ken, yung pala. Sorry.
Dayon, so let's go through certain comments muna.
Yeah.
So,
ito may nag-comment sa Kumu eh. Thank you for pointing that out. We have our own timeline and we have to acknowledge the efforts rather than the And tapos sabi nga ni Kat, who wasn't here, sabi niya, may napulot pa rin naman siya, di ba? Reminding myself now that despite the fact that work is very stressful, I should be grateful that I still have work. Mm-hmm. And mentioning nga, sinabi ni TJ, yung ABS-CBN shutdown, dami na wala ng work, di ba? So, kumbaga, if you're listening right now and you're stressful at work, maybe you should be grateful that you still have a work kasi dami na wala ng work, di ba? Especially colleagues ni TJ. Mm-hmm. And sabi nga ni Monchi, be better always. And ito, kilala ka. TJ Manotoc. Yan, of course, kilala yan.
Ano ginawa mo ng all caps? TJ Manotoc!
Ayan. And
sinare namin TJ na high school student na nag-honor student because he watches the podcast. Yan, si Arsenic.
Ayan, galing. Yeah. I remember you told me about that guy. Yes.
Yeah. Sabi rin ni Monchi, we might meet GovMat pala this July with Coach AG. Would like to know his take, who's gonna win the one. Sinagot mo na yan eh. Parang ikaw mananalo eh, sabi mo.
Ngayon ako pa rin.
But I think there was an interview I think it was the same interview when you said na Matt, when he just focused, napunta siya sa golf but if he focused more on basketball, he could have been a good player.
Nung 13 years old siya, napapanood ko na siya sa varsity team niya sa IS. And I was coaching in Pasarel at that time. And the best player in Pasarel at that time was Ogie Menor in San Beda. Sabi ko sa dad ko, Dad, 13. Sabi ko, kaya niya eh. Sabi ko, nakumpara ko yung physical skills and height and ability. Sabi ko, may potential si Matt. He can get there if he wants to. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of focus and sacrifice and work in high school basketball. But fate had its own course for him, and he still was a varsity player all throughout his high school career, but he was more in golf.
Right. Ang laki pala niya, no? 6'2" ata si, nagulat ako kala ko he wasn't, laki pala.
Okay, here's the funny thing. Yes, 6-footer siya, but he was part of our team dun sa B6BL na sinabi ko nung asa niya dati.
Lumusot?
Oo, you mentioned nga lumusot Kasi hindi sila strict, di ba? Actually, yun yung minsan problema sa mga commercial leagues, hindi sila strict when they impose certain rules.
Meron silang rule doon na pwedeng i-challenge ng kalaban.
Pero wala nag-challenge.
Uy, malaki yan. Mga 6'3 yan, 4 yan. Hindi, na-challenge ata siya a couple of times, pero yumuko siya, whatever, natatawa. Mga referees. So,
grabe, no? Tangkad pala niya, no?
Mix was on our team a couple of years. So,
ayun, no? Sabi ni...
si Mix. Di ba, Mix? Mix yan.
Sino pinakamagaling na nakalaro mong sports broadcaster or sportscaster?
Pinakamagaling?
Yeah, para sa'yo, personally.
Sportscasters?
Pinakamagaling at pinakamatalino. Yan, at least that's two separate. Pinakamatalino maglaro.
Ang hot seat.
Okay. Yung pinakamatalino na lang siguro, pag mamayabang ko,
yung kasama yung gulang, Gulang sa ka-IQ. Ikaw.
Kulang na ako sa physical skills. So, dinadaan ko na sa gulang And Mix knows this. Pag may opportunity ako na magbe-baseline inbound, kasi hindi ako binabantayan as an inbounder, nakatalagot sa akin, binabagya ako sa puwet yun. That takes basketball IQ, di ba? Anyway.
Correct.
Pero, sa totoo lang, sa mga shooter namin, Mix was one of the best shooters we had on Team Manotoc. And if you're gonna limit it to the best players na naging sportscaster, Mix na yun. Okay? For me, a shooter, pero all-around players, Anton
ba? Anton Rojas. Physically, no?
Parang,
sabi rin ni Kat
parang ilang taong ka na ba? Nasa na youth na iniinuman mo. Probably 5-6 years younger than me. Pero sabi ko, ganyan pa rin katawan mo, ganyan ka-athletic. Grabe yung buhos mo.
Grabe.
So, in terms of the sportscasters na magaling mag-basketball, I think it's Anton. I mean, with the exception of the former players,
Yeah.
Yung mga Christian Iwanzon, Daya na yun Diba? Pero yung mga talagang sportscaster lang through the years na mahusay pa na mag-basketball, Anton, grabe. Kakaiba.
Pero at least yung pinaka-highest basketball IQ was TJ Manotoc.
Wala na masyadong physical ability. I'm sure makakarinig na isa sa mga favorite move ko. Yung Philip Cesar move ko I don't know if you've ever seen this, but pag meron akong chance either fast break or slow break na mauuna ako ng konti, alam ko may malaki, na kailangan kong pumeke, pinipeke ko na walang bola. Iniipit ko yung bola sa net ko.
Alam ko yun.
Yung ganun. Ang ni-mix to. Okay, Ginat. Siguro mga 90% of the time, napapakagat ko sila.
Grabe.
Score. At lahat na lang kami natatawa. Pati yung kalaban natatawa. Ginagawa niya yan.
In the game, no, ginagawa yung ganun, di ba?
Nakakasarap pa naman din ganun
which you don't see sa mga ligang seryoso, di ba?
May variation yun, May variation yun. Meron isang kamay, na ipitin mo ng isang kamay, gagawin ako walang bola. Or minsan nga, iipili ko sa legs ko, dalawang kamay yung aakyat na peke na walang bola. So, there's two kinds of it. So,
Yun yung tinatawag na yung parang kay Ray John Rondo, di ba? The Rondo, yan yung the Manotoc, di ba? Yung the move na ganun.
yun.
Ito, just to add lang from Kat, kabatch ko si Anton, nakakaro ko siya before. So that means 34 na si Anton. Walang laban sa katawan.
Reveal mo pa yung edad eh.
Paghawak na ni Anton bola, may queen na kundi tatalsik.
Sige, hintayin natin si Anton mga 6 years na. Tignan natin kung meron pa rin siyang deal. Pag pumuntang na siya ng 40.
Yeah.
Ako since tinanong nyo naman, sino pinaka-intense naman, Tej?
Na maglaro?
Oo.
Yung pinaka...
Pag natalo, parang di mo makakausap.
Anton din pero...
Takes it to heart. Yung takes it to heart talaga sineseryoso. Grabe.
Pikon, sama na lang.
Yung hardcore.
Mga pikon sa court. Naging sportscaster na rin siya, pero for a while, most of his career, he was a writer, but he became a sportscaster. Si Delf Tupas. I don't know if you know.
Yeah. Si Delf Tupas.
Commentator siya ng MPBL. So, naging teammate din namin yan sa Team Manotoc, Pikon.
Atay tayo dyan.
Sabi ni Gab Parenes, Goodwill Games. So, si Delf, super competitive. Pikon din.
UAP Goodwill Games. And yun nga, sabi nga ni Gab din, just to add din, nakakamiss ang The Score, pero talagang mas nakakamiss yung mga early 2000s, sumasideline bilang PBA courtside reporters, tapos nag-showbiz news ka pa sa celebrity.com, sa IBC 13. That was good old days.
Alam ko, nabura ko na sa internet yung sa Wikipedia page ko na yun yung celebrity.
And then, yeah, when I googled your name, TJ, your dad's name always comes up si Tommy. And then yung friendly rival niyo ni Nico Halili dati, same time slot kasi kayo sa Sports Desk. Hanggang sa pinasa niya ang hosting job sa The Score since aalis ka at that time sa America.
Yep, nakakatuwa yun. Ang dami natin sports shows. Well, hanggang ngayon, ang dami, even at ABS-CBN, thanks to CNN Philippines and TV5 and One Sports, ang dami pa rin sports shows. So, what a time to be a sports fan, diba? Nakakatuwa. Whether it's on TV or on the internet, ang dami mga panood na content, di ba?
Right. Yeah. Galing.
Ayun, TJ, thank you so much. Grabe, midnight na dyan. We promise you na hanggang 2:30. 11:30 lang dyan. But,
nagkakape pa nga siya ngayong oras grabe, no? Kala mo umaga
Yun nga But yan, TJ, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Grabe. I know, sobrang busy mo. I've been watching your stories, your post on social media, on Twitter. Actually,
very active.
Mas active siya sa Twitter
Yeah.
So, but yan, TJ will just give you an opportunity if you wanna shout out certain people, you wanna promote certain stuff.
Or advocacies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you for all the Kapamilya fans out there who continue to support us even though wala kami franchise, walang free TV network, pero we're online, we're on cable, we're on the internet. So for those of you who already have it or you don't, please download the I Want TV app so you can watch all of the ABS-CBN shows there, whether it's the Ang Provinciano if you want to keep up with Cardo or the news shows or the other content, it's all there. So thank you so much. Follow us on our social media pages as well, ABS-CBN News on Twitter and Facebook. And so that's the work side. And in terms of my mental wellness advocacy, always try to be a better person for yourself and for others. And that's where it begins. If you want to learn more about that, if you just joined this, rewind at the beginning, watch it.
Yeah.
And watch out. I'll be doing something sometime soon. Just stay tuned to my Instagram and Twitter. Instagram is at TJman77. If you're wondering why 77, that's my jersey number. I play hoops. And then, na-retire na kasi number 10 high school. Jesus God. So, ayun. And then, of course, on Twitter, at TJ Manotoc. So,
ayun. So, before we let TJ go, Dino, I'm sure you'd like to say something.
Of course. TJ, it was fun having a conversation with you. Ngayong araw na ito, mahirap sabihin yung oras kasi magkaiba ng timeline, but I do appreciate
Sunday na rin.
Sunday na rin sa kanya. Sunday na rin pala sa kanya.
habol na rin ako. dito.
Yeah, I do appreciate the time that you've spent here with us, and it was really fun engaging with you and relating with you through your journey as someone that went through depression. So, maraming salamat, and I wish you well and all the best sa so baga the things that you're gonna be doing down the road, especially with mental health and wellness, and at the same time as being the ABS-CBN North America News Bureau Chief. So good luck and hope to see you soon when you come back here in the Philippines at makalaro natin si TJ at ma-experience natin yung trademark move niya. Di ba yung trademark?
Liman. Okay.
Oo, si Migs.
Sama si Monchil. Sige,
Oo.
hindi ko na si Migs.
Si Gov. At saka papuntahin natin si Gov Mark. Kasi para malaman, papanoorin namin kayo mag one-on-one.
Para makita yung hang time niya.
Oo. Para magkaalaman, TJ, kung tama ba yung sinasabi mo na tatalunin mo siya sa one-on-one.
Taas na ng talon ni Matthew, 3 inches.
Ayan. Thank you so much.
Alright, thanks guys. Ang saya, maraming salamat.
Yeah, TJ, thank you so much. Ayun, ako naman, sobrang fan ako way before pa, and I'm sure Fred up there is really happy na tayo magkakilala na.
Lalo siya siguro na kalbo ngayon. Tawa siya ng tawa ngayon.
Actually, I don't know if you remember his favorite line whenever we go there. Sabi niya, nobody listens to Fred. I don't know if you recall that, but ganun siya eh. So, ayun, and thank you so much. Redefine mo yung meaning of game, no? Di ba? I'm sure our viewers, we know it's a sports podcast, but we know that mental health, especially in sports, we know Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, Tony De La Cruz has been promoting that in terms dito sa sports, and you as well in relation to sports broadcasting. So yun, maraming salamat TJ kasi invaluable yung matututunan ng mga viewers dito. I'm sure Tino has learned so much. Ayun. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Sobrang busy mo. And yun, hopefully nga, when you get home or if we get a chance to go there, we get to meet you in person. Really looking forward to that.
Thank you. Kung dumalaw kayo, bumusina kayo, sagot ko yung...
Yun. Yan. Maraming salamat, TJ. Thank you, TJ. Maraming salamat for your time. Yan.
Ayan. Grabe, Dino. Ano masasabi mo?
Napahaba yung kwentuhan. Grabe.
It's all worth it, no?
Grabe, no? I think, ang ganda lang nung, parang, we're a sports podcast, but, what makes TJ Manotoc is yung, yung journey niya as a mental health and wellness advocate din, di ba? And someone that went through depression as well. So, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that. Na yung pinagdaanan niya.
Ayun. So guys, maraming salamat sa mga nanood live here on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Kumu. Tapos nagulat ako dito sa Kumu, ang dami nagpadala ng gifts. Grabe.
May dami nagbaksak eh. So, I think a lot of them were able to relate dun sa hindi lang doon sa journey niya as someone that's renowned sa sports community here in the Philippines, but more of dun sa someone that went through a lot of mental challenges. So, nakakatuwa lang. Thank you guys sa Kumu for all the gifts and for interacting with us.
Ayun guys, yun na nga. Maraming salamat. And of course, maraming salamat din sa'yo, Dino, si Kat, na I'm sure kahit sobrang busy, took a lot from this episode. Kahit yung man nag-comment. So, Kat, good luck. Next week naman, magkikita tayo. So, makakapag-distress tayo. So, tanggapin mo ulit yung siko ni Dino pag nag-basketball. But yun, the dream team, of course, the invaluable contributions they do for the podcast. And our family, our friends who always support us in this podcast. Grabe, episode 46 na tayo, guys. So maraming salamat, our avid viewers. Alam niyo na kung sino kayo, hindi ko na kayo isa-isahin pa. Kasi kayo rin naman nagko-comment dito. So maraming salamat. And our next episode will be on July 14, Wednesday po ulit, 8 p.m. So, ayan, back to our regular programming. So alam ko, lunchtime, Sunday time tayo ngayon. But yun,
Yeah.
we will have Sacho Ilustre in this special episode. Malalaman nyo kung bakit when we promote our episode. So yan, maraming salamat. So yan, on behalf of Dino Lee, on behalf of the One Arm Mamba Miss Katan, and the rest of the Dream Team, ako po si Ken Pangalinan saying so long, stay safe, and see you on the next episode of For the Love of the Game. Good afternoon, guys.
Di na tayo sanay, no? Bye, guys.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want, yeah. Rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooter's gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I won, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.